All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Friday. We made it to the end of the week. So we always do, right? We always make it.
We make it about midway through the week. We question whether we are, especially my sanity. This week, my sanity is fleeting.
That's every day, right? That's
Well,
not
no,
just this week, right?
it's a little worse this week. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not really good at incurring debt. I don't know about all the rest of you
Right.
business people out there. I'd love to hear from you if you own businesses, but there's one thing that probably stresses me out more than anything, and that's making a decision that makes me go in debt. And I got about 3 of those going on right now that's not small ones. And luckily, I've got a banker that's got a sense of humor that's going to help me out on a little of this. But it's adding to my stress level, to say the least. But we got a lot of great news coming over in the Auburn market. Excited about the growth of all of our businesses, including the one that you're tuning into right here. R&B is really growing. We probably, if we haven't doubled in billing this year with Brett finally out of that college, we're closing in on it. He loved his college, but if you're a CAC employee or an administrator out there, he's gone now. So let me throw this one on out there. I begged him to get out of that college for the last decade. It took him 1 year once we got him out of there, double billing. So
I hope we can keep doubling. That's my hope. So, and we double because we got great people, and we got great businesses that have bought into what we do and believe in what we do and have stayed with us, man. The good thing about this is almost like recruiting in college. You can recruit a bunch of people, but if you're losing as many or more on the backside, you're never gaining. Well, the good thing for us is we have very limited inventory. I know that sounds like a sales pitch on a Friday morning. We have very limited inventory because we get people that want to be part of what we do and they love what we do. And obviously we work for their business, and that's the whole goal. We don't want them to look at us as a charity. They want return on investment too, like everybody else. So we appreciate it. And speaking of one of those that we've joined forces with is Bumpers. We'll be on location today at noon for our Auburn Blitz show at Bumpers. We want you to come out and see us. I know there's a lot going on. It's Friday, and maybe you're off half a day. Maybe your wife's shopping. Maybe you need somewhere to go to have a drink. There's a great bar at Bumpers. There's a bunch of golf simulators there. They got great food. So we want you to come out and join us today at Bumpers. We really are looking forward to it. Plenty of parking in the parking deck, so you don't have a reason to worry about downtown. You just pull into the parking deck behind Bumpers and then just walk in the front door. It's that simple. So we'll be live at noon. So we're looking forward to it, Randy. I know you are too.
Well, we're going to have Coach Kleiner on with us, and I'll transition to talking about him a bit. Brett, I don't know him personally, but all I know is when we reach out to coaches, are they willing to come on and promote and market their programs and, not look at, talking heads like us as an adversary, but someone that really wants to promote their program in a positive way. And I can't say enough good things about him and everything that I hear about him. Now, we've got mutual friends that we've talked to that think the world of him. But you can think the world of somebody and they not be a good coach. The good thing about Coach Kleiner is not only does everyone that I talk to say positive things about him, but he's a national championship coach now, and he's recruiting at a level that I'm not sure anyone in Auburn or at any program that we have is recruiting, Brett. He's getting the top amateur golfers here in the country to take a look at Auburn and the facilities that we have around. You and I have the good fortune of being from Lake Martin, and we know that there's 2 tremendous facilities there that Auburn takes advantage of quite often in Willow Point, now Wicker Point. And we think a lot of, the growth of our community in Lake Martin. But Brett, I'll kick it over to you because you've had a lot more interactions with Coach Kleiner than I have. Tremendous guy that we're very lucky to have at Auburn.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you said it first. Is somebody approachable? And the thing about it is with him is you wouldn't know. And the reason I say this, he doesn't act any different now that he's won a national championship than any time before. And he's all about marketing the golf program and promoting it. And he looks at every opportunity as just that, an opportunity to shine some light on the student athletes that play for him. And he's very humble. So it's easy to gravitate towards somebody like that. Hey, look, it's just as easy to be nice to people in this world as it is to be rude in an a-hole. And that's not in his DNA. You can tell. The same with Coach Pruitt on the basketball side. Anytime we've ever reached out to Coach Pruitt, he's always made it work. There's people out there in the world that try to make it not work. They look for any reason not to do something. And then you got people like these two guys that figure out a way to make it work. And that's what you like. And, I think I guess, to toot our horn just a little bit, that's what you and I try to do. At least that's the motto we live by. I mean, we all get strung out in this world, but we try to make things work for people if it's where we can make it work. And we try to maybe stretch ourselves a little bit thin sometimes, but everybody does. But long story short, we're glad that Coach Kleiner's coming today. And, what a better place to come as a head golf coach to come to Bumpers and Bunkers. I mean, it's just a perfect setup, virtual golf, great food, great atmosphere. So we'll talk more about that as we move along. So make sure you come out and see us today at noon if you can. All right, the portal, we'll start there. Just seems like that's going to be where we start a lot of our mornings until we get this quarterback situation figured out. Malik Murphy made the visit to Auburn. He did not leave with things being hammered out. So I'm not saying that's dead in the water, but it looks like all eyes have shifted to Jackson Arnold now. And Jackson Arnold, Randy, I tried to talk myself, again, you can knee-jerk react on everything. I had to go back and do a little research myself. And Jackson Arnold, Randy, if we sign Jackson Arnold, he'll be the highest-rated quarterback out of high school that we've ever signed. And I know he's played in college, but I'm just saying his ranking on 24/7 will be the highest of any quarterback Auburn's ever signed. Now, he's a 4-star in the portal, but he was a 5-star plus in coming out of high school out of Texas. Look at Bo Nix. I'll use that as an example. Now, I know we don't usually have things work out for us lately with quarterbacks, but a lot of people could have said the same thing for Bo Nix going to Oregon. Like, what did he do at Auburn? I mean, that guy, he couldn't get anything done. I mean, he was always running for his life and seemed like he was unsure of himself and all that. And then he gets to Oregon, gets in the right situation with the right coach, man, and he blossoms. And I guess I'm holding on to hope that may be the case if we get Jackson Arnold, is that you got this guy with all this potential, man, and was a no-brainer out of high school that everybody wanted. And maybe the situation for him, because let's be honest, Oklahoma's had a tumultuous situation too. They hired a terrible offensive coordinator. Their offensive line's been terrible this year. He got sacked umpteen hundred times, and it's easy to try to do something, in the middle of the season when the offense isn't working. What do we do at Auburn? We change quarterbacks, right? We did it this year. And you stick another quarterback in the same crappy system, you get the same crappy results. And so Oklahoma didn't get any better really changing out to Hawkins. So they come back to Jackson Arnold, and he did get a big win coming down the stretch against Alabama. And so I don't think all's lost with this kid. And sometimes you need to start over. Maybe he comes here and maybe he gets the rejuvenation he needs to be the quarterback that he wants to be in college.
Well, that's the way to spin it in a positive direction, Brett. And that's the only thing we can do at this point with Auburn. Right now, when you look in the portal and you hear the ones that are being talked about, there's no one like Cam Ward last year where we would go on air and go, that's a no-brainer. You're going to have to pay for him, but that's a no-brainer that's got a chance to compete for a Heisman next year. And you said that last year when we were going through this, and I don't know that there's anyone out there. And you and I are on multiple text threads with a lot of Auburn fans, and they said the same thing that I always get on air and say, that they'd like a dual threat quarterback that can also run the football and scare you there. And possibly run for 600 to 900 yards per year just to add into those rushing numbers. And I think we all would, because we've seen it at Auburn work. But if there's not that guy out there, you've got to go get the best other option that there is. And so I'm with you, Jackson Arnold. If he's the decision that Hugh Freeze and this staff makes, then I think we all need to support it and be hopeful that he can get all of that talent that people clearly saw of him when he was a high school 5-star, and then pull that back out. Has Auburn been really good at developing quarterbacks? Well, the answer is N-O with a big old exclamation point at the end of it. Now, have we gone and gotten a couple of transfer quarterbacks that have produced for Auburn? Yes, we've done that. We just haven't taken a high school guy and made the best out of him. We made Bo Nix okay, but we didn't make the best out of him until he got away from Auburn. So I'm hopeful that Jackson Arnold can be someone that takes it to the next level. He is dual threat, Brett.
He is dual
threat. He can run the football.
He can run it.
He's proven that against great oppositions. Has he done it consistently? No. But Oklahoma hasn't been any more consistent than Auburn has on the offensive side of the ball. So if it's him, so be it. I'm not going to be upset about it, and I'll be hopeful that Auburn's made the right decision. And well, we put the pieces around him, including at the offensive line and running back, where we've got a couple of portal guys that we're talking to, Brett. Also another high school guy that potentially could sign with Auburn that's right there in the hometown that may be another addition to that running back room. So the more I look into it, but I'm an Auburn fan, man. I'm going to try to start looking at things glass half full until the season starts next year. I do it every year. I'm not going to stop doing it this year. And so I think he's got a chance to be good enough at Auburn to suffice long enough till we get these other two prepared and ready to play, because we've gone and gotten two tremendous high school quarterbacks the last couple of years. At some point in time, those guys have got to develop into the starters that you hope they're going to be. If you're Walker White, you're not going to sit over there 3 or 4 years. If you're Deuce Knight, you don't plan to come in here and sit over there for 3 years. So you just need someone to piecemeal maybe a season together. And Jackson Arnold at least has played enough big-time football that he could be a piece.
Well, let's listen. Jeff Lebby, who's at Mississippi State, obviously really likes him, recruited him out of high school, was a guy that, I mean, this is his quotes now. It's the best quarterback, most talented quarterback he's ever coached, the best arm of any quarterback he's ever seen. They want him extremely bad. Jeff Lebby thinks he could be and again, it's all about relationships too now. Again, can you fit with the right person? So he really is high on that. And it feels like it's Mississippi State and Auburn. And last night it feels like Mississippi State may have conceded. Now, just through some indications that I saw, that Mississippi State may have said, look, we can't compete with what Auburn's throwing out there. And that may be it. I mean, Malik Murphy was in. Auburn's been looking at some other guys, but you're starting to whittle down to wherever you are in this process with the people that are out there in the portal versus the people that haven't either gotten in the portal or somebody you're going to try to coerce and convince to get into the portal. So, I mean, you look at Jeff Lebby's comments there, and, he coached some pretty doggone good quarterbacks over his time. Again, all things point to, can he come in here and maybe be rejuvenated? That's what we're all hoping for. And we're hoping that he can be that guy. Again, nothing's official yet. Maybe you hear something today about this. I think the sooner the better for Auburn to get some type of closure in this quarterback portal would be better, because again, the longer it goes, the more speculation that goes, the more you feel like you got beat out by somebody else. And we saw the stuff about Quinn Ewers last night, and Quinn Ewers really has two options: to go to the NFL or transfer to another college for his last year, because Texas is going to move on. Arch Manning's their guy moving forward. And so Quinn Ewers is already getting courted by several Big Ten teams. The ironic thing is, what if he ends back up at Ohio State? I thought about that last night, coming full circle, going to Ohio State and then coming back to Ohio State. I mean, they're saying upwards of maybe $4 million on the table for him for 1 year. And if he's smart, that's what he'll do. Maybe go get better, 1 more year in college, take that money, and then go to the draft. Because right now he's not projected as highly maybe as he wants to be going into this draft. Because, look, let's be honest, he struggled a little bit this year, and he's been struggling coming down the stretch. Now, would you and I take him at Auburn? There's no doubt. And we've been saying that for a while. But it looks like maybe it's up to a Big Ten team for him. But that just looks like it feels like Auburn's kind of pushed all their chips to the middle of the table on Jackson Arnold right now.
Well, at a certain point, you've got to. You got to read the tea leaves and know which ones are interested in you, and then not let everyone get away. Because the last thing that Hugh Freeze can do at this point is just let them all get away and go somewhere else. And then you're sitting there trying to just scrape the bottom of the barrel and find, the best option that's left out there. I think Jackson Arnold would be appreciated by a lot of programs. And I'm hopeful that Auburn does close the deal on him and add him into this group and get him in as soon as possible and start moving forward, because that's also something we're going to see as the spring comes along, Brett. We only got a couple of quarterbacks in that room. We've already lost a couple of more. So we need warm bodies at this point to compete with each other for that starting nod next year, and getting at least one more in the room right now, and then having the Stanford transfer roll on into and get him working. At least we'll have options there. And Hugh Freeze has got to take advantage of all these options. I'll say that. I'm not the one making the decision and picking the one that he's choosing out there. Brett and I are really good at spinning this in a positive direction for Auburn. I can sit here and spin Jackson Arnold the same way I spin Sean White back in the day when he was the Elite 11 quarterback and Trent Dilfer was saying he was one of the best high school quarterbacks he's ever seen. I keep going down the list, Brett, of things we've heard and people we've talked to and quarterbacks that we've thought were going to be much better than we developed them there at Auburn. Kyle Frazier to Clint Mosley. I can keep going as long as you want me to. That's how many we've missed on at Auburn over the years. So Jackson Arnold, hope we get him in. Hope Hugh Freeze coaches him up as well as he has some others that he's had, like Malik Willis,
right,
that he pulled in as a transfer, and like all of those great quarterbacks that he had at Ole Miss.
No doubt no doubt about it. So again, got the comments coming across the bottom, and you look at it from a standpoint of I go back to the comment you made just a minute ago about getting these highly ranked high school guys coming in, and then all of a sudden, after a year goes by, you just forget about them, and your mind just shifts to, oh, we got to get somebody in here immediately. Hey, at some point in time, dadgummit, man. I mean, all the buzz was around Walker White last year. What's been happening with him? Why hasn't he improved enough to know that, hey, coming into this season, he's our guy? And so, again, you got to go get people out of the portal now. I get it. And especially after the disastrous year we had offensively, to make sure, and then just for sure numbers too. Because like you said, we only have 2 in there right now. But, I mean, if you're going to, are we going to say the same thing about, is Deuce Knight going to be the forgotten one next year this time? Are we going to be saying, yeah. I mean, that's my point, and we're going to be looking at trying to get in the portal again to get somebody from somewhere else to come in and be the savior. So let's get these guys in here, and let's start building them up and getting them prepared to come in and be the guy, because that's who we thought that guy was when we recruited him. So why all of a sudden, if they've been there a year or two, they all of a sudden are not the guy anymore? So that's kind of my take on that. All right, so the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game coming up tomorrow. You got the North-South game today at 3 o'clock. We'll have both of those games on the HSA Radio Network. But yesterday, the recruiting services put out highlights of who's doing well and what's going on. And after yesterday, when you look at the top performers on several lists, and this is guys analyzing practice and drills and things that are going on, Jared Smith was at the top for in a lot of the recruiting services as far as top performers in practice. Deuce Knight also on those lists. Malik Autry, Jacaleb Falk, Antonio Coleman. Man, you just keep looking down the list. This defense, man, and we've said it for now a couple of weeks when we were dealing with signing day up until now. This is already a really good defense under DJ Durkin. Man, they're adding pieces. This is not just all. This is not ranking just Auburn and Alabama players. This is ranking players from everywhere. And they're going to all these other colleges. This isn't, but Auburn just happens to have a boatload on the list of top performers here this week at the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game. Man, this defense could be a top 5 defense, man, with the way DJ Durkin and this staff developed those kids this year.
Well, I think that's the key word that you say there, Brett, development. And we saw it this year. You and I were hopeful last year that Auburn and some of those young guys that we got in would develop and play early. I didn't think Malik Blockton would play as early as he did, but he played outstanding football at Auburn this year for a true freshman. And look at Caleb Harris. I knew the program that Caleb Harris was coming out of, and there was no doubt in my mind that he would probably be ahead of schedule. But did anyone, and by the way, him being left off the all-freshman team, the SEC's.
This is 2 of them now.
Yeah, I know it.
I mean, this is 2 of them.
That one's a joke. He may have been our best freshman this year, Cam Coleman included. Caleb Harris was that good back in the secondary. So I don't understand it, but that's another topic for another show. But DJ Durkin is developing, and he is getting great pieces in. And you and I have had the good fortune of seeing a lot of these pieces. And from Jared Smith to Jordan Crawford to Anquan Fagans, Derek Winters, there's 4 guys that at need positions for Auburn that I'm not sure that I can go out in this country and find 4 guys better that I would trade those 4 for, Brett. You got a defensive end in the mix that's a grown man, a massive human, really tall, really long. You've got a high motor, very, very strong body, super personality in Jordan Crawford to play right there beside him. And you got two safeties that are as highly ranked as any 2 safeties Auburn's ever signed in the same class. I mean, if you took them out individually and you threw them to the side, Auburn hasn't signed any safeties over the last 15 to 20 years any higher ranked than these 2 guys are. They're 2 of the top 5 safeties in the country in this year's class, and they're both coming to Auburn to go along with a secondary like Caleb Harris we just talked about that look pretty strong this year for a top 15 ranked defense. I'm very confident Auburn's getting some great pieces. I'm not watching and wondering what these guys are going to look like when they show up to Auburn. I already know several of them are going to have a chance to play and play early, and that's 4 of them right there on the defensive side that you'll be able to see tomorrow. This game's going on in Mobile tomorrow. It'll be on television. We'll carry it on our radio network as well. So Alabama's got a big-time lead over Mississippi when it comes to this classic, and I'm hoping that tomorrow's another win in the Alabama column.
Card Smith really garnered a lot of praise, ended up going to Colorado and saw some one-on-one drills with him, and he got his fair share of wins in one-on-ones, but Jared Smith in the video really made him look silly in one particular clip that we all saw. And this is probably more than anybody, that to me was one of our biggest signees in this class was Jared Smith from Thompson. I was worried that South Carolina had maybe come in and stolen him away in the last week, but he stayed with Auburn, and the sheer size of that guy and the speed and the athleticism, I think he is going to be extremely special at Auburn. And, man, he's already up there in the top 2-3 performers this week in the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game. Look, you said it the other day. When the game kicks off, it's hard to tell really kind of what a guy does because it's really an all-star format where you don't have a lot of guys really – I mean, defenses are running base defenses and things. You don't have a lot of time to mix up coverages and all. So you see a lot of one-on-one stuff. But where you see the talents in these drills, in the practice, that's why all these people go down there for a week and cover practice, Randy, is because that's where you see them go against the best and in one-on-one opportunities and see who really is the real deal. And Jared Smith's on everybody's list in the top 2 or 3. And man, I'm telling you, that defensive line for Auburn, when you put a Jordan Crawford in there and you get a Keldrick Faulk back like last year, and you continue to add these pieces, man, the defensive line's been a place where we've had to piecemeal over the years. And now all of a sudden you're looking at blue chip guys up and down the line too deep on that defensive front
that are producing. I mean, let's be honest. I love Keldrick Faulk. Did I think in year 2 he'd be an all SEC performer? Probably not. I would have more have guessed that he was coming from a small high school, was going to need to develop up to that level, that would get his chances at Auburn, and maybe in year 3 or 4 would be a top tier player. I mean, he was a major difference maker on that defensive side of the ball. Even when he wasn't making the play, Brett, he was forcing the play to be made by somebody else. That's how good he was. So it's development. It's back to development. It's talking until we're blue in the face for what we've seen on the defensive side of the ball going back 15 years. I think whoever we put on the defensive side of the ball since 2014 as a coordinator has done a really good job of putting a solid defense out there that could compete in the SEC and give us a chance to win football games. We've just not had the same coaching on the offensive side of the ball. And unfortunately, all of our head coaches have been offensive-minded guys. But they're not producing the same way that we are on the defensive side. So we're getting better pieces than we've ever had. I do think that if you do see an Auburn defense, just take a slight jump from the 15th to 20th ranked defense in the country to a top 10 defense in the country, and we can cure our woes somehow on the offensive side of the ball. We will flip this thing around. But the question's still the offensive side of the ball, Brett.
Yeah, an offensive line. You look at a situation Braden Joyner made the freshman All-SEC team. He really came on, and then so he's back. And then Dylan Wade, Connor Lew, Jeremiah Wright. I mean, you're looking at 4 guys back off an offensive line, and people can say, well, I don't know, that offensive line, do you want those guys? Yeah, you always want your veterans back. You always want guys that have 2 or 3 years experience under their belt coming back. And I thought they were fine. I don't think we were some All-American offensive line, but I thought we were good enough in most games. The problem wasn't the offensive line this year. When you have real bad offensive line problems, they're pretty glaring. I thought they held their own against Georgia. I thought they held their own against Alabama for the most part. It's just execution and decision making, and maybe sometimes play calling. I didn't walk out of the Jordan-Hare Stadium in some of those losses thinking, man, the offensive line let us down. It was more of the lines of the quarterback play and lack of execution for whatever reason. So anytime you get those guys back, I think that can help. And you start on the lines of scrimmage. That's what we're talking about right now. Defensive line, offensive line. And if you do get somebody that can actually finally come in and produce at quarterback, man, with the targets that we have, if we pick up Singleton maybe to replace KLS, and I know they're not the same size player, but I'm talking about filling that spot on the roster with a guy that's as talented as Singleton if he decides to come to Auburn. Man, the wide receiver room is loaded for bear for somebody that can deliver from the quarterback position. So, yeah, all this is a bunch of ifs. But the good thing is you have potential if you can get it all put together. And we've got to do it on the offensive side of the football at some point in time.
Last thought this morning before we jump off, Brett. Another player that I want to watch here in this Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game is Alvin Henderson. I think that's worth watching. He looks the part, but Alvin Henderson coming out of a 1A school at Elba has a lot of question marks around him on how he's going to transition quickly to the college game. He's got practically every record there is to be had for a running back here in the state of Alabama with 10,000 plus yards rushing. But he is the 12th ranked recruit here in this state. Most of the time you would look at a guy like that and say, how in the world is he not a top 3 recruit in the state? But he is the 12th ranked. And the only question is how will that transition be from 1A football with the offensive system that they run there at Elba all the way up to Auburn University? And I think that this week, what he's been able to do at the Alabama Mississippi All-Star practices and then getting and looking and see how he matches up with the opposition from Mississippi tomorrow it's what makes these All-Star events worth watching, Brett, or matchups like that. So he's one I'll be watching. I already know he looks the part. I mean, I've seen him. I've made 1,000 posts about him on our AHSA outlets in the last couple of years. And there's no question that he's not a mini Mike that's coming in here and you're wondering whether he's going to be strong and durable enough to be an SEC back. No, that's not the deal. It's just communication, all of the things that I think that you probably get a little more of in a 6 and 7A class that maybe you don't get as much of in a lower classification, not knocking those classifications. Look, you and I cover those, and some of the best football that we see that we enjoy is in the lower classifications, but it's a different brand of football, especially system-wise, that you see at, say, a Thompson all the way down to an Elba. So how quick can he transition to that? Tomorrow will be worth watching to see how he does in that game.
Yeah, let's see how he performs. I'm looking forward to it as well. He's going to go against top dogs over there on that Mississippi side. Again, we don't talk a lot about the Mississippi roster as much because we kind of have a vested interest in the Alabama kids with the HSA and all, but the Mississippi puts their fair share of great players out there. We ran some of those down that we've seen over the years yesterday, and you'll get to see Deuce Knight, quarterback for Mississippi, all you Auburn fans. So this is he's going to be going up against a hell of a defensive front in that Alabama squad. So we'll see how he performs. Justin said any feel on Eric Singleton. By all indications, had a great visit this week at Auburn. He's visiting Ole Miss this weekend. Who's in the mix for him? Nebraska, Texas, obviously Ole Miss that he's visiting. We're definitely in the thick of it. And I think home state Georgia is in the mix. So about what you expect out of that. That's the list you want. When you see a list like that, now this isn't a kid coming out of high school, so you don't have to look at offer lists. You can see what he did at Georgia Tech, but it was a little bit different of an offense for him over there. But this is a guy that's going to step in and be an impact player for whoever he chooses. So, yes, do we want Eric Singleton? We sure do at Auburn, but so does a lot of other schools as well. He can make a difference on whoever's roster he is added to. Also on the left tackle, yes. I mean, when you have 3 to 4 pieces coming back on your offensive line, that's really, really good. But we also know that there's almost as much of an importance placed on getting a good tackle or maybe 2 out of the portal as is this quarterback. Okay, so we missed last year. Went out and got Percy Lewis from Mississippi State, and it just did not work, man. There's no other way to spin that one. That was a massive fail. He just didn't come in and produce at all. So got to go back again this year and see if you can find 1, if not 2.
On location today at Bunkers on West Glen. Make sure to come out and be with us. We'll be starting our television show at 12. We'll go to 1. We'll have Coach Kleiner out there with us from the Auburn Men's Golf National Championship team to discuss maybe a little bit of last year, but also to move forward on a hopeful run for another national championship there at Auburn with a very talented squad. If you haven't been to Bunkers so far, please do. Beautiful location there. It's kind of got a couple of different spots that they're taking up as a tenant there. It's a really big, nice. When you walk through the doors, you'll be knocked down how nice this is. A really nice bar area. So if on a Friday you want to come out and kind of kick your weekend off during lunch, we'd love to have you out there at Bunkers today. That will be from 12 to 1, and you can tune that in on our television network throughout the state on WOTM. And, every day we have our shows simulcasted on all of our social media outlets. But our show from 12 to 1 is really a television broadcast that we put on the radio and social media, but it's made for the television side, and you'll be able to watch that throughout the state of Alabama. So come on out to Bunkers and be there with us.
I don't know if Coach Kleiner's watching us or not, but this time yesterday, he confirmed and he just texted me. He said, "Looking forward to it. See you guys today." So I don't know if he's watching or if it's just pure coincidence, but it's perfect timing. But you're right. We're glad to have Coach Kleiner to come out, and hopefully we're working with Jason Caldwell. That guy's as busy as anybody. Talk about somebody that's on the go. And we know that he'll be down at the Alabama Mississippi game tomorrow, but he's going to try to work it out to be with us today, if all possible, out at Bumpers as well. Nobody covers recruiting better than Jason Caldwell for Auburn. I can tell you that.
Sense of Green, also a big sponsor for this podcast every morning. So if you're in the Auburn Opelika area, Lake Martin area now, and also up in Huntsville, Sense of Green, they're a carrier dealer. Our good friend Wade Bennett will be out with us today at Bunkers. So come by and see Wade and pass the word along, and, patronize Sense of Green. They're a great new sponsor of all of our programming this year, and they're really growing in the Lake Martin market. So we're glad to have Wade on with us today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sense of Green for air that's cool and clean. Call Sense of Green. And again, also let me go ahead and do a little promo. Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine is a big part of us on the Auburn Blitz, and make sure you go out and see them on East Glen or in Montgomery. If you're in the Montgomery area, go down to Pepper Tree, their original store there. Been there 25 plus years serving that area. The best meat that you can find anywhere, from steaks to pork chops to ribs to chicken. They got it all. They can cater anything. They got their Christmas specials going on. Get your orders in. Fillets, the beef tenderloin, the prime rib, all of that stuff, man. They can make your Christmas very special if you're hosting a lot of people with your family and friends and all that. So check them out. I want to thank our sponsors over on the TV show today as well. Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply Stores, J.A. Smith Construction and Excavation, and, of course, Sense of Green. You just talked about them, Randy. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. Hopefully everybody will be able to come out and see us for a little while at least at Bumpers. If not, tune us in at noon for Auburn Blitz. Hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.